Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to come on this morning and I wanted to talk just briefly. It's not a long video or anything like that, but I don't know. I've been going through a really strange period in my life. I used to hear a lot of older people say to me a long, long time ago that, that they felt invisible. As a young person, I didn't understand that. And it's like, it's really, but now that I am older, I do understand what it feels like to be invisible. It seems like no matter where I go, no matter what I do, no matter how good I am at things or whatever, I'm still invisible to a lot of the people in the world today. I understand it's a 20 something, 30 something, 40-year-old world. I am 54 years old. And it actually sometimes, like yesterday especially, and this morning as a matter of fact, I woke up with this on my mind, and like I said, I just felt like I needed to talk about it, but it's like, I really do. I feel invisible. It's like, I don't understand why the world turns or makes you feel like that. I don't know if it's just a cycle that you go through as as you get older. Does it get better? Does it get worse? It's like sometimes I can understand why. I see why older people when they lose their significant other, or their husband, wife, or whatever, it's like why they don't want to hang around, or why some people, older people, don't want to live forever. Because it's like, what's the sense? It's not my world anymore. There's nobody that cares, really. Like I said, I just never thought I'd be in this place because once upon a time in my life, I was quite the dude, if you will. But a lot has changed. And I also contribute a lot to what I do for a living, which is nothing glorious. I used to be a hairdresser, professional hairstylist for years and years and years. I loved it. But then I took that for granted many, many, many years ago, and I became um, a big partier, so to speak. And then not only that, I was also I discovered that I was gay, and so I was kind of living that life, and I lived to like party and to go and hang out, with my friends at the time, and just be a 20 something, 30 something year old, and just have multiple partners and all that stuff. I was living a good vacationing, doing all those things, wonderful things, and now it's like none of that happens for me. Don't get me wrong. I have a significant other. He's the best guy. He loves me. I love him. And I'm about to make a move to where he's at. But there's still a part of me that feels very invisible, that feels very alone. And it's like, I pray to God, every day, every night, when I wake up in the morning, when I go to bed at night, that this be taken off of my heart, and that I find a way to um, feel better about myself and about life in general. You know, like I said, I just never thought in a million years that I, of all people, would ever feel like this. You know, it's like, but getting back to when I was a hairdresser or whatever like that, and finding out that I was gay and all that back in the latter '80s, early '90s, I became this person that I didn't even know anymore. The alcohol consumed my life, and I'm now a recovering alcoholic for, I want to say it's almost 10 years. Don't smoke, don't drink anymore. I mean, I've changed my life completely. And all those people at that time that were my friends, or so I thought were my friends, are no longer in my life. And it's like, it's really quite, I'm not kidding, it's really quite lonely and depressing at times. You know, I mean, I don't, every day it's not like this for me, but I just wonder if there are other people out there, who feel like this, and if they can give me some suggestions on what I can do, to help myself, get out of this rut that I'm in. It's also one of the reasons why I've decided that I wanted to do this YouTube thing, and I looked on here, looked to see, if anybody viewed any of my videos, and, I'm new at this. I don't know how to do this. I'm doing this all via my phone, I don't have the means to go out and buy the big cameras, the lights, and all that stuff as of yet. But I want to. I want to be able to bring content to you guys, like I said in my introduction, about my life, my future husband's life, my siblings, but I won't be able to do it with them as much because I'll be out of state, in a different state than where my sisters live at, and my dad. So it'll just be mostly, my new friends and my future husband and his family and all of that. It'll be videos with them if they want to be in it, be a part of it. But I want my videos to be real. But anyway, my point that I was trying to get to is that when I looked at my views, I had 0 views. And I understand. It's like I sit on here and I scroll through and I watch all these other videos on here. And all these people, these guys and gals, they're talking about the same stuff, and they're doing the same thing. And I wonder, and that's where I came up with the title for this, Invisible. Is it because that they're young and that they're attractive and that they're vivacious and that they have it going on? And myself personally right now, I don't have any of that. I mean, I don't think that I'm like ugly or anything like that. Because God only knows I've seen much worse. But I mean, I know I'm not at my best. I mean, I have a lot that's going on with me too, health wise. I have been diagnosed with kidney failure. I have polycystic kidney disease, PKD, which is cysts that are growing on both of my kidneys. And ultimately, I'm going to need dialysis. Going to kidney failure will need dialysis or possibly a transplant. I have been on a transplant list here in the state where I'm at that hospital, but I'm about ready to move. I've been on it for like the last 2.5, almost 3 years. And I was talking to some of the transplant team people that, because you have to go and have like physicals and you have to have meetings and talk with all the different people, social workers. You got to talk with the transplant doctor. You got to talk with these oh my goodness, there's dietitians. I mean, there's a whole bunch of slew of people that you have to talk to in order to be able to get a transplant if and when it ever happens for me or for you. And it's like, I don't know that and this particular kidney disease that I have is genetics, and I have a rare blood disorder, type. It's like O negative or O something. I know it's O something, but it's very rare, and it's like I'm just starting to wonder, and that I think in itself is also taking a toll on me, and I hate that. I hate that um, it's like that for me, you know. I just never saw myself, being here because I used to, like I said, back in my days when I was like in my 20s and in my 30s, and I was doing the hairdressing thing and living life and traveling and, you know, just living life. I just never thought in a million years, that I would be here. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but I just felt. I know I'm all over the place with my conversation, but I just want to know if there's anybody else out there that feels like I do at this age. And it's like, and in today's standard, 54 years old is still considered pretty young. And I do. Most days, I feel really, 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 really good and I feel young. But that's when I get my rest and stuff like that. But I think also, too, the reason why I'm really feeling the way that I'm feeling is I'm having some anxiety, and because I do suffer from that at times too, you know, because I'm getting ready to make this move and leave a really good, not a really good job, but I mean a secure job. You're one that's I'm able to like pay my bills and and not have to worry about anything and all that stuff. But I'm not able to be with the one that I love and that loves me. So I'm picking up everything, and because he has a business where he's at, and he's doing his thing, and his grind is a little bit more successful than mine. You know, I'm willing to like quit what I'm doing and move there, in hopes of finding, uh, a nice job, a well-paying job, and the other scary part is, I'm having to start all over with like my doctors and all of that stuff, you know. Uh, but yeah, like I said, ultimately, I know I keep talking about it, but I just want to know, does anybody else out there, any of the other YouTubers out there, or any of you other people, that I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and give me a chance and give me your feedback on what you think I should do, as far as like getting over this slump that I'm in. I know once I'm there, and that's the new state where I'm going, where my future husband is, I think I'll feel somewhat better. But I know me, because I'm going through this illness or whatever, that I'm still gonna have my days, my good and my bad days. And I know, and believe me, I understand that everybody has their moments, and it's like, but I don't want to feel like this every day. I don't. I don't want to feel like this. Where I work at right now, it's like, I just don't. Oh Lord, I don't have my teeth. I wear a partial, and I just remembered I don't have that in. Oh well, so I'm still in bed. I haven't gotten up yet. Like I said, I look like a hot ass mess. But anyway, where I work at, it's not a very pleasant place. And it's like I said, I hate to keep referring back to my age and my sexuality, but where I work, it's like it's around a lot of professionals, but it's around a lot of people that are in cliques, and I've never in my life ever been in a group, even as a hairdresser, hairstylist for years and years and years. I never experienced this. I've never experienced where there's so many cliques and uh, judgmental, people, and because I've always been, that's something that has probably been something that kind of hurts me, but at the same time, it's got me, you know, to different positions in life or whatever. But I've always been a leader. I've never been a follower. I've always been walked to my own tune, my own beat. So in other words, I'm kind of a unique person. In all actuality, I'm a rather shy person. Um, unless I get to know you, and then that's a different story that I can open up to you. Um, but before I meet someone, I'm someone who just kind of sits back and reads body language, and I take it all in, and I just kind of watch. And when people speak, and when or just even their body language, you learn a lot about that person. I mean, you don't. I don't really have to say anything. I just sit back and listen and watch, and that's when I know. And usually I can tell within just a few minutes if I'm going to be able to jive with that person. You know, and a lot of people, honestly, today they don't. I don't know. They don't know what it is to work hard. To uh, they want the quick and fast and the easy way of doing things, and I know that that is not how life is. Um, Growing up the way that I grew up, too, that there wasn't a lot. I didn't have a lot of support. I love my mom and I love my dad. God rest my mother's soul. She passed away. I told that to you guys in one of my introductions videos. But she tried. Whereas my dad, he was the breadwinner of the family. He had four kids, my mom and himself, that he had to, to take care of. So he wasn't there at the house all the time. So it was just my mom, and my mom was abused as a young girl. She was one of the younger three out of her 15 sisters and brothers when she was growing up, and her mother was mentally unstable, also mentally challenged. Forgive me if I'm saying it the wrong way. I don't mean it like that, but she was very abusive to her children. My mother and her two other siblings, were the ones who suffered the brunt of all of this by my grandmother, who unfortunately passed away from aneurysm on the way visiting my mom here, on a train many, many years ago in the early 70s. But anyway, my mom suffered a lot of abuse from her mother, verbally, physically, a lot of physical abuse. Her mother was the type that would take uh, high heels and whip them with it, or take extension cords and you know, beat, not whip, but beat them with. My mother even got burnt by irons, ironing, because she, back in the day, in the 60s when my mother was growing up, because they were poor, what my mother did was, if she wasn't babysitting or helping out on the farm, which that's what she also had to do, she had a hard life. Uh, she would have to, her and her mom and her other sister, baby sister, would take in laundry for people, and they would have to do all of this. And if it wasn't, and press it, and wash it, and all that old crazy stuff, and and they didn't do it out in the, they didn't do it. They didn't have dryers like that because they were poor, so they had one of those old electric washers that they had on their back porch, and anyway, it was one of those old agitators. I can still remember. It was a Maytag. I remember seeing when we'd go out later on as a kid to Arizona. But anyway, if things weren't done the way that her mother wanted things done, she would pick up the iron and she would burn my mom, literally. And this, like, just, she tortured my mom. And she made my mom, her little sister, and her little brother all drop out of school when they were in the eighth grade. So, what I'm getting to, my point that I'm trying to get to is that as a kid, because my mother didn't have the exposure, because she was with us mostly, as like I said, because my dad was always working. She was the one that was with us four kids. She didn't know how to respond to her children or take care of her children like she was supposed to, other than, she knew that she needed to feed us and that she needed to make sure that we were safe. And I guess that's all in good. No parent gets a book on how to, raise their kids. But I mean, she was not the type that could sit down and do like homework with you because she didn't know it. I mean, she didn't know anything about any of that. And as I got older, I think out of all of my siblings, I noticed all of this stuff about her because I was more similar to her than my father. I looked more like my dad, but I was more like her, personality wise. She had a heart of gold, would do anything for anybody, but she just didn't know how to be a positive, be a positive reinforcement in her life. My dad either, for that matter, because he too came from a big family. They rushed they got out of they tried to get out of their families as quick, leave home as quick as possible. Because I don't know if my dad really suffered what my mom did, but I just think that, they were never the emotional type of people. They didn't ever say, I love you. They never hugged. They never did any of that. And then as I got older, like I said, I started noticing all the differences because I would go to other friends' homes and would see how their parents react with them. And then I go home and I'm like, wow, my parents don't even do that. Yeah, I'll even give you another example. Growing up, we were never, ever allowed to have anybody in our house. Never, 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 never. Granted, we were poor. And I don't know what that was all about, but for some reason, it seemed like all the neighborhood kids wanted to come to our house, and they could. But as far as like coming on the inside, my mother wasn't having it. She wasn't having no part of that. And if you did, believe me, you would suffer the wrath after they left. And I don't know what that was all about. It wasn't like we didn't have food or we didn't have anything, to offer to anybody or anything like that. But my mother just didn't want that. I don't know. It was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if she was ashamed or what. And it's like, so, a part of that kind of rubbed off and became a part of who I am and a part of what my sisters are, and I don't know. But then as I got older, and like I said, and because they weren't the type to like, inspire you, you should go to college, you should do this, you should do that. I took it upon myself to change. Just because you are born into a situation, you don't have to be a product of that environment. If you want change, you can make change. And that's what I decided to do. So the moment I graduated from high school, um, I was supposed to have gone to college in a particular arts college, but I got there and realized that it wasn't what I wanted. And I'm sure I was like, or actually, I know I was a big disappointment to my parents because I did not, because I would have been the first one to graduate, go to college, and graduate. But unfortunately, the sad part is I did not go back and I didn't finish it. I didn't do any of that. So when I came back home to my home state, my dad was like, this is in the 80s, latter eight, the 1983, 84. He was like, you're a young man now. He's like, and I would do you an injustice if I allowed you to stay here in this house and not um, do something with your life. He's like, I know you want more of yourself than this. And it was kind of strange that he was having that talk because he never had it with me before. But I guess he knew that he didn't want to see me end up like he was. He happened to work two, three jobs, just to support six people and still barely make ends meet. But anyway, so my older sister Cynthia at the time, who had just gotten married, moved away with her husband down to Texas, to Lubbock, Texas. That's where my dad was like, I think you should go there. But of course, he asked my brother in law, if it was okay, and Cynthia, if my sister, if it was okay if I came down and spent a little time with them, to try to get on my feet and find, some type of job or something. He just did not want me laying around the house there in the state where I come from, So, anyway, I go there, and that was the beginning of when I realized that you know, life, oh my God, life it's not cakes and balloons and hearts and everybody's lovey-dovey, because of living this very sheltered life and not having a lot of exposure to a lot of stuff, being from a very, really, really small community. It was a shocker to me, the reality of the world, that everybody is not nice. Everybody has, or a lot of people have ulterior motives, and that it's generally not a good thing, especially, and when you're young and you're a male, even then, you had to worry about a lot of people wanting you for the wrong reasons, wanting to hang out with you. And I found that out too, the hard way. But anyway, I get there, and it's like everything's going fine. I was there maybe about a month with my sister and her husband, my brother in law, now ex brother in law, thank the Lord. But anyway, he decides he comes home one day from college because him and her both were in college going to school, but she ended up dropping out because she got pregnant or something with their baby. And he wanted her to stay home. He was one of those whole kind of crazy guys that believed a woman should be barefooted, pregnant, and blah, blah, blah. And so, unfortunately, my sister ended up that way. But years later, to skip forward, as far as like she goes, she ended up going to college and getting a couple of degrees or whatever. She did make it, but the sad part is, I'll tell y'all about that some other time. But anyway, because she was married to him and, it was the thing to do. She wanted to be his wife and be the mother of his child or whatever. So she just started following everything that he was saying. And he came home one day and he decided that he didn't want me there anymore. Well, hell, I didn't know anybody. Only people that I knew was her, my sister, and him. So he goes and he tells my sister he's got to get out of here. He can't stay here. And that's my sister, of course, was like, well, where's he going to go? He doesn't know anybody. We don't have any family other than myself and you. And he was like, I don't know. He's got to go. So he puts me out. And my sister, she tries everything she can, but she knew if she wanted to stay married to this guy, which she didn't ultimately. But, because she had his kid, she was having his baby, she had to follow along with him, or so she thought in her mind. And I've since have forgiven her. But, I was homeless. And that's what I also realized. Life is not what you think it is. I mean, people are terrible what they do. You just can't imagine. I mean, I literally was I slept out on the streets, and to this day, I still can't believe that I survived that and did that and made it through it. But I did, but I don't know. I met people along the way. I got little odd jobs here or there, and it's like, and then eventually one day, I ran into this woman. Her name was Cecilia Valencia there in Lubbock. And she offered me a place to stay. Well, she realized that I was down on my luck. And, I told her my story and, where I came from and my situation and the whole nine yards. And I guess she felt for me and she allowed me to move in with her. And then she changed. And she was like, James, I I was just looking for some place, to have a roof over my head, some place to eat, something to eat, and what have you. And she was like, you really need to, she was like, I'm doing you a disservice I'm enabling you basically by allowing you to stay here and not pay any rent. And, so I'm going to need you to start paying rent or otherwise you're going to have to go, you know. And, I got to thinking, well, how the hell am I going to pay? I don't make enough money. Hell, I was just working at, uh, what was the name of that restaurant? Fur's Pie Kitchen at the time as a dishwasher. So, you don't make no money doing that shit. Only being 18, 19 years old. So anyway, it was one of my many days, but I was put on. When I did move there to Lubbock, Texas with my sisters, I did manage to bring like my high school jacket, that I had my high school pictures taken in. I had a pair of dress slacks and a dress shirt and a tie. And I would wear that same thing and I would go out every day trying to find a better job for myself. And I would walk up and down these big old freeways and highways in this 80 degrees summer, little did I know. I know when I got to the interviews, I know they were like, "What the hell? Who the hell? What the?" But once I told them, I didn't have transportation, but I swear I promised them that, if they hired and they took a chance on me, that I would be there and blah blah blah. Well, after so many interviews and getting like, petty jobs, one day I was like sitting down, after walking, I was tired and it was like because I knew I couldn't go back to that apartment. Without having a good job is what Cecilia wanted me to have. So I got a newspaper, and I was reading through it in the job section and the career section, and there I came across it. It stood out. It was like somebody came down and touched me on my shoulder and said, "Hey, look at this. This is what you're supposed to do." It said, "Have the career of your life in only 9 months." Like, And, so that piqued my interest. So I began to read into it a little further. And once I got into it, I realized it was going to cosmetology school, going to hairdressing school, you know. Uh, so anyway, I was like, how can it hurt? You know what? Because as a kid growing up, because I had three sisters and my mom, and being, I didn't know that I was gay all the way, but I always loved doing hair, and my sisters would allow me to experiment on them. And also, my dad I call my mom and dad bootlegger hairdressers because my dad would like cut all the men's hair in our neighborhood, and my mom would do all the women's hair. So as a kid, on Saturdays and Sundays, or Saturdays, Friday evenings and Saturdays, my mom and dad would go and they would like set up appointments. These people would want to do their haircuts and pressing hair with hot combs and curling and all that kind of. So I would go along